Hi honeys, we're back for another episode of Girl Do It For You. Okay, so now that we're into the new year, let's kind of talk about the healing. The healing that we're all doing. We're all on a different journey. We're all trying to fix ourselves, and sometimes I feel like it doesn't feel like you're getting anywhere with your healing journey. Sometimes you feel defeated. Sometimes you just feel like you're getting nowhere, and it's a lot. So I'm here to just kind of like, let's talk about it. Like, what is happening in everyone's healing journey where they can be like, oh no, that actually made me realize that I'm getting somewhere. I'm getting better. So also, does anyone else kind of like spiral and come up with ideas that they want to talk about and then like have a whole list? So that's kind of what we're going off of today. So sometimes I think I'm making absolutely no progress. I think we're getting nowhere. I feel like therapy isn't helping me. I just generally feel a little defeated and frustrated, and I'm just like, what's the point? I'm like, I don't see an instant change. I don't feel like I've changed. And then situations happen, and how I react, I'm like, holy shit, that's therapy me talking. Like, that is me sitting in my head going, oh my god, like, process it, feel the emotion. And that's literally why I'm in therapy. It was like, because I don't process emotions very well. Well, we're getting a little vulnerable here. I don't process emotions very well. I don't know how to process them. I don't know how to feel them. And I act on anger and an instant feeling a lot. And with therapy, I'm learning how to not do that. So situations will happen, and I'm sitting there, and instead of just lashing out or talking out of anger or spite or just getting really angry and saying something, I sit there and I'm like, okay, why did this happen? How do I need to treat this situation? And that's the part of me that's healing. Like, that's the me that's trying to work on herself and better herself for me, for my relationship, for friendships, for everything, like anything in life. That is me trying to better it. And that's when I really sit there and I'm like, oh, this is working. Like, I've been in therapy since March, and so almost an entire year. And I'm like, it's not an overnight thing. This doesn't just happen. You go to therapy for a month and all of a sudden you're a whole new person. This literally happened to me last week on my way to work. Something had happened in life, and I was sitting there and I was just like trying to think about the situation, how I wanted to respond. And I sat with it for like a good 20 minutes, and then I responded. And I was sitting there and I was like, I'm proud of myself for that. I am so proud of myself for not just lashing out of anger or whatever. Like, I sat with it. I figured out how to respond. I wrote it like 12 times, and then I was like, okay, no, that's mean. I reread it. I'm like, no, that was unnecessary. Don't say that. Like, that was what made me have that oh shit moment. Like, I am really working on myself. And this has been like me going to therapy consistently every single week. I am consistent with therapy. I did have a month off at Christmas, and let me tell you, there was a day I was standing in my kitchen and I was like, I need to call my therapist. Because it gets overwhelming. And there's a lot that can happen, and you need to talk to somebody if you're going through that and you're like, am I crazy? Or like, sometimes just too much is put on you at one time as a person, and you need to talk to someone to be like, am I handling this wrong? What else should I have done? And sometimes there's nothing else you can do. Sometimes they're like, okay, yeah, that was a little bit of you, and you have to take accountability. And something that I am learning to be better at is that, and I apologize for things that I've done wrong, and I see it from everyone else's perspective. I take a step back and I'm like, okay, I was out of line. Then there's some times where you were literally fine and that person just fucked up, and that is it. But you drive yourself crazy trying to figure out who's right, who's wrong. And sometimes there's none. And I think with the help of therapy that you can learn to figure that out without going to your therapist. Like, you will get to the point where you won't need to call your therapist and be like, hey, am I being crazy? You'll be able to be like, no, I'm not being crazy. You're fucked up. This is the situation and this isn't okay. But it's also okay to still have to call them. Like, I was trying to be strong. I was trying to make it through the month without my therapist because it's Christmas, my wedding, like the whole 9 yards. And there was a week where I I couldn't anymore. And I was like, I can't. I felt like everything was just being put on me as a burden, and I was like, I can't physically take any more from anyone or life, and I was about to break. And so I had to call her, and it was nice to have that. There are certain things that you think you're going crazy for, and it's also good to call your therapist then too, and because you think, you know, like, am I fucked up? They're portraying me as the villain and I didn't really do anything. And it's okay to be portrayed as the villain in some situations to protect your own peace, because that's what it's all about. You are protecting your peace. And if you have to be the villain in their story to do so, you have to. It is what it is. I'm sorry. I wish I could tell you that no matter what, it'll all work out. But sometimes some people want somebody to blame. That's realistic. People want somebody to blame, and it's sometimes going to be the person that it's sometimes going to be the person that has boundaries and doesn't let people walk all over them. And that is what it is. And I wish that wasn't true, but it is. And that's okay if you're protecting your own peace and that's why you did it. And they can't understand that. If you've explained it and they still don't get it and they don't respect your boundary, that's okay to be the villain, to protect your peace. That's okay to have that boundary for you. That's okay. Don't let anybody tell you it's not. Ever. Like, that is what it is. I'm protecting my peace, and it's causing me to not be able to have certain relationships that I've had before, and it sucks. But I have to do it for me. You have to do it for yourself. I'm sorry, but it is what it is, and it's very difficult. But you have to put yourself first. You have to protect your own peace. I read a quote the other day that said, I was taught that keeping quiet kept the peace, until I realized whose peace was it keeping. And I want you guys to just sit with that for a minute, because it's true. You're told, don't say this. Oh no, don't say that. Oh no, you'll upset them. Oh no, you're that. But then in your head, your internal monologue, you're going, and you're like, but you're spiraling, you're going crazy, and people are making you feel crazy. And you're like, why am I not allowed to say anything when they're sitting over here saying 1, 2, 3 things at me, and I have to just keep quiet because I'm not supposed to upset the apple cart or anything? You're not protecting your own peace. You're keeping their peace, and you're keeping the person's peace that asked you to say that. And you know what I say to that? Fuck that. Say what you want to say. Get it off your chest. You have something to say to me, that's fine, I'll listen, but then listen when I respond. If you're going to say something that's disrespectful or breaks a boundary or is just downright fucking rude, you deserve to be told, no, that's wrong. We're not going to do that. That's fucked up. You're not going to talk to me like that. Fix it, or we're not going to have a conversation. And if they don't like that response, well, guess what? That's their problem, not yours. And that's where I'm saying you'll be the villain, because they're going to be like, she lashed at me, she spoke to me like this. But they don't want to look at themselves in the mirror and say that they spoke like that first. It goes hand in hand with treat people how you want to be treated. You're going to yell at somebody, they're going to yell back at you. And that isn't part of the healing journey that has to go, like, you don't... To be healed doesn't ever mean that you're not allowed to get upset or yell at somebody. To be healed is to understand that if someone is disrespecting you, know where your boundary is, and if they don't respect it, then you can go off on them and that's okay, or you can just choose to not have them be a part of your life. That's it. That's not you being a bad person. That is literally you protecting your peace. If someone disrespects you, you are allowed to not be around that person anymore. Now, you don't go tit for tat. You don't do that. But if someone is disrespecting you, you are allowed to stand up and say, no. You're allowed to be like, you're disrespecting me. I'm not okay with this. And yes, it will probably lead to a fight, because that's why they say keep quiet. But it needs to happen sometimes. People should not be able to get away with disrespecting you, talking about you, saying all of this stuff with no repercussions. And I think that's what makes a lot of people angry, is because they're told to keep quiet for so long. They're told to be quiet to keep the peace. They're told don't say anything, don't this, don't that. And then you snap. Or you go down a really bad depressive episode and you can't figure out why, and neither can anybody else because you've been told to shut up your whole life. And it's not fair. You deserve to be heard. Your feelings matter. You deserve for people to understand where you're coming from and not break a boundary or disrespect you for their happiness. And then you be told to be quiet so that you don't disrupt anyone or disrupt the friendship or relationship or whatever it is. You should never be silenced. If people are making you uncomfortable, tell them. If someone's disrespecting you and you don't like it, tell them. Stand up for yourself. You owe that to yourself for your own inner peace. And it's hard because it causes problems and it causes rifts and tears and families, relationships, friendships, work life, everything. But you shouldn't have to carry that burden, that load of someone who constantly disrespecting you or treating you like crap and you're just being like, okay, can't say anything. No, say something. And it's hard. Trust me. I've been there. And I'm still there. And it's still not working out in my favor. But I'm sticking to it. Because you don't get to disrespect me. One thing I've decided is that in this year, everyone has resolutions for 2024. I don't really have resolutions for 2024. But I do know that I am no longer taking disrespect from people anymore. Last year was it. I'm done. I'm not being disrespected. You don't get to walk all over me. You also don't get to tell me how I feel or how I handle things because they are not invalid. They are very valid feelings. And I am done being belittled by people who don't care about me. Or every time you're in an argument with someone, they have to throw in a petty comment for no reason. And it's like, what? No. I'm going to call you out for it from now on. You want to make a petty comment? What's that about? Oh, I didn't mean it. Yes, you did. Say it again. What? Like, I'm not doing this. I am not fighting with people. You're going to disrespect me. You're done. You're going to break a boundary more than once. You're done. I'll give you the chance to break it and me tell you broke it and you fix it. And if you don't, done. And I'm no longer keeping quiet. And last year, that is really what started a lot of my problems and why I had to go into therapy. And I started speaking up about problems and nobody liked them. And now nobody likes me. And I'm the villain in a lot of people's lives and a lot of people's stories. And I don't care anymore. Because I'm protecting my peace by not letting you treat me like that. You want to pinpoint me as the villain? It's fine, I've made my peace with it. You've been doing it all last year anyway. But you no longer get access to my life. You no longer get to treat me like that. You don't get to talk to me like that. I'm not keeping the peace. And you shouldn't either. If you have something to say, say it. Like, let's talk about it. We can have a conversation. We are all grown adults. Something's bothering you, you should be able to have a conversation without a level of disrespect. It's just that simple. But I think a lot of the times, it's difficult. And that is why I'm still in therapy, because I'm not healed. I'm healing. I'm not fixed. I'm not perfect. I have done my fair share of wrong things in life and I am trying to work through them. And it's important that I recognize it. But people who don't understand it, they belittle it. Because they don't see it. People who know I'm in therapy will assume I'm in therapy because of how I react to things, but that's not true. How I've reacted to most things that have happened in my life, when I tell my therapist, she told me I'm good. How I handled it was 100% right, and it was everyone else around me that was making me feel like I was crazy. Because they were telling me I was wrong, and I wasn't wrong. And now I know that, I have peace. I have a little bit of peace knowing that I didn't do that wrong. How I reacted to certain things were correct, but it was the fact that no one else understood that and everybody else just accepted the behaviour and moved on. And there was no repercussions for these people's actions. It made me think I was losing my mind. And I think it's absolutely insane that people can treat people like that. And trust me, there have been times where I just want to be like, fuck you, we're done, I'm not doing this, like, don't talk to me like that. And I don't. And there are times where I want to go tit for tat and be like, you've disrespected me for, I don't know, like 3 years now. Let me disrespect you back. But I don't. Because I'm not that bad of a person. I have been done pretty dirty by a lot of people in my life. People I thought would never, ever treat me like this. And it's hard. Because now they want to play victim. Because I'm finally speaking up. And now they want to cry and say, oh, this is your fault. Okay, well, if we want to really, like, we're not pointing fingers, but if we want to, let's see who started it or whose behavior was disrespectful. But I don't do that. I don't. I'm like, okay, well, this is what happened. These are the facts. That's it. Can't change fact. Like, as what it is. Because I can't ever, the way I have been treated, I can't ever treat people like that. And I doesn't fathom in my head, and I think that is what makes you feel crazy, is when someone is so disrespectful and rude and just no consideration for your feelings, you literally can't wrap your head around how bad that is. And you're trying to see it from everyone's point of view, and you just can't believe it, and then you can't believe what's happening, and it makes you feel like you've lost your damn mind, and you haven't. It's all about how you react, and it's all about speaking your feelings, because don't ever bottle things up. Like, that is where I messed up. You bottle things up and then you explode on the wrong person. And I'm guilty for it. I'll put my hand up. I am 100% guilty for bottling up my feelings and lashing on my husband. I go through things and I get disrespected by people, and would keep quiet. I'd come home, I'd rant to him, I'd be like, blah, 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 like all this stuff that's happening in my life, and he'd be like, well, what are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know, this, that, the other. A couple days would go by. I'm still angry about this situation that happened without my husband, and then something happens. He does the slightest thing. He's late home from work. He burns something when he's cooking. He didn't walk the dogs or take out the trash, and I implode on him. And it's not fair, because it wasn't his. I wasn't angry at him. I was angry at other people who never understood that they were disrespecting me or breaking a boundary or being just plain fucking nasty to me. And I am so, so thankful that I have the husband that I do, because he would be like, okay. He always, Matthew, oh my God, he would always just be like, okay, I'm not the one that did this. Can we have a conversation on what's going on? I'm not the one you're mad at. Yes, I didn't take out the trash when you asked. Okay, I'm sorry. But that's not grounds for yelling at me or getting angry with me. You're mad at whatever the situation is. Let's process it. Then I figure out how to process my emotions and go to therapy, and it takes a while, but I now know, I'm now more aware. And if he does something and I'm instantly angry, I know it's not him. I know it's something else in the back of my mind, and I'm like, okay, this wasn't fair. Don't get mad at him. You're just upset. And he now we're at the point of, like, I can communicate with him and be like, look, I'm really angry about this, and I'm going to take it out on you, and I'm sorry, so I'm just going to take myself out of the situation. Like, and it's not just him, it's people close to me. I did it to my best friend very recently, actually, and I had to sit and apologize, and I was like, I'm sorry, you didn't deserve me to act like that. Like, I'm really sorry. I took out my frustrations because I assumed you were acting like someone who did something very similar that she did. Like, we had a conversation, and the way I had said something was how I spoke to someone else, because they had disrespected me in a similar way. But the difference was, my best friend is very communicative, and we were able to talk it through, and she understood where I was coming from, and I understood where she was coming from, and we got through it. But in the middle of it, I put up my defense, and I was like, oh, well, she's going to act like so-and-so who did something similar, and blew up on her. And then I had to go back and apologize, and I was like, I'm really sorry, you didn't deserve that. You're not that person. I know you were trying to fix things. And I'm grateful that I have someone like her who was understanding and was like, yeah, you're right, I didn't deserve that, but thank you for apologizing. We're good. Like, and it's hard, because, like, you don't want to treat people like that, but it's also, you can't put your boundaries, or not your boundaries, you can't put your stress on other people, but it is really hard when they're people you're surrounded by all the time, or someone does something and it triggers another thing, and you're, like, frustrated. And I have a lot of triggers that I'm working through and things that bring up really bad PTSD problems. And it's really difficult to balance your work, your life, your relationship, taking care of yourself, taking care of dogs, taking care of a house, going to therapy, trying to fix yourself and heal yourself, and being mindful of everything at the same time, while getting burdened with everyone else's stuff that they're bombarding you with and giving you shit. And I think that's something that is very hard, and I am so proud of you if you are working through that, and I'm so proud of you for balancing it, but it is a hard juggle. It's so difficult. And it's very good if you have people around you who support that you're trying to work on yourself and can understand. Because my husband and my best friend, they both understand. They know that I'm trying to fix myself, and they know I'm having a hard time with everyone else in my life. And they get frustrated with me, and they're like, that's not fair. And we all do it, but they understand that I am trying to fix myself, and I'm trying to fix it for like our relationships. But it's difficult. And if you don't have that support, I support you guys. I support you. I wholeheartedly support it. It's so difficult, and I'm so proud of you if you're going through something like that and you're trying to fix it. Because you deserve peace. You deserve to not be stressed out about everyone else coming at you and everything's your fault or being told to be quiet. No, you deserve peace. You deserve to speak up, and you deserve to be heard. And I think that is the most difficult part of healing. But I think I'm finally making progress, and I think I can finally see it and see the results, and I'm very proud of myself for that. But it's hard, and it can be feeling like you're lonely, and you feel like you're not getting any support, and you feel like you're not making any progress because X, Y, and Z hasn't happened. But I promise you are making progress. I promise you. And I promise it's worth it. It's worth it for you in the end. For your peace, for you to know that you're not doing anything wrong. You're not. People are just shitty. It's okay. But I'm proud of you. Thank you for listening to another episode, honeys. I love you. Bye, honeys.